Coach Elko talked more about Marcel Reed, and it sounds like he believes his quarterback is developing.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. On the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit about the basketball team at the tail end of the show and kind of what's going on. We haven't heard a lot recently. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some quotes from Coach Elko, and I want to get things started talking about what he had to say about his quarterback, Marcel Reed. So he goes on to say, Marcel Reed's development is what I'm most excited about. His development as a leader and in the passing game is important. He was a great player last year, but you'll see a significantly better version of him this fall. And I'll tell you why I like this quote. Those of you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know that we've heard Coach Elko talk about Marcel Reed. You know, during spring ball, only a month or two ago, we heard some quotes and it didn't sound like Coach Elko was bought in or fired. You know what I mean? It sounded like he had his fair share of concerns about Marcel Reed. And that was just a vibe from the quotes. So to hear this quote from Coach Elko, where it sounds like he is bought in and a believer that Marcel Reed is developing, we've discussed it. Once again, those of you ever know, I've talked about it. If Texas A&M is going to be successful and overachieve and make a college football playoff appearance, Marcel Reed had to have a great offseason and develop as a passer. You know, the discussion I've had time and time again here is I believe that he's a good enough quarterback to win 8 football games the way he is right now, as the player he is right now. But also, if he developed, that was my thought, if he's able to develop, Marcel Reed is a good enough quarterback to lead Texas A&M to win, I believe, 10 football games and make a college football playoff appearance. So that is what we needed to see happen. And if Coach Elko is starting to see some development from his quarterback, that is huge because that means that his quarterback is going to be hopefully good enough to take this team somewhere. So, once again, I'm not in practice every day. Nobody here is in practice every day. You know, we don't know the day. We don't know what off-season workouts are looking like for Marcel. We don't know. We're not there. Coach Elko does know what's going on with his quarterback, and it sounds like things are going well. We've heard some quotes from Coach Elko. Once again, it was around spring ball, where it just, to me, didn't sound like Marcel Reed was having that development that this coaching staff wanted him to have. And this quote today from Coach Elko makes it sound like the polar opposite to me. It sounds like he believes his quarterback is set to take a step to that next level. Marcel Reed's legs are an absolutely elite weapon in college football. It is not going to be easy for teams to slow down his legs. And we've discussed it. If he is able to find a way to get more efficient as a passer, this football team can be great. And luckily, and we've talked about the offseason development of Marcel Reed and how important that is. But at the same time, we've also had the conversation of how his weapons on offense, I do believe, are going to be much better this season. And if they are much better, I think that it's going to help this Texas A&M team succeed. And it's going to make it easier for Marcel Reed to push the ball downfield to his weapons when he's got better guys. And yes, Noah Thomas was a great receiver, but some of the guys last year were okay wide receivers, but not elite. I think this year, between KFC Concepcion, Craver, Terry Bussey. I am a full-on believer that Marcel Reed has elite weapons on the outside, and I think that's what he needs to succeed. So he's got it now. He's got these guys that should be able to help him put together a really good season. But what we'll see is, there's never been really the arm. It's not like it's arm strength concerns. The concerns with him as a passer have been reading defenses and accuracy. I do believe that accuracy it's tough to learn it. I obviously you can get better at anything in life, right? You can get better at anything in life. But I am a big believer there are some things that are more natural, and accuracy as a passer I think comes a little bit natural. You can improve. But I don't know if I'm buying that he'll ever be elite accuracy-wise. I believe he can improve. Reading a defense, you can improve on. There are practice techniques to improve and get better at reading a defense. And to me, that's the biggest thing. I mean, Marcel Reed has made some accurate throws. That throw to Ashton Bethel-Roman in the spring game was absolutely gorgeous. He can make good throws. We saw him do it last season. We know he's capable of doing it. I think that if he's able to read what's going on with the defense, it's going to help him know where to go with the football. And then on top of that, to continue the conversation about his weapons being better, I also just think that his weapons are going to be better, and it's going to be easier for him to push the ball downfield when he's throwing to an open Concepcion or an open Craver. I mean, think how nice it's going to be to throw a go ball to Mario Craver with 3 yards of space. I mean, it's nice. It's nice to be able to push the ball downfield to an open receiver rather than push the ball downfield and hope it's not going to get picked off because you're trying to make something happen with nothing. I think that his receivers are going to create enough space to where it is going to be it's going to be a lot easier for him to push the ball downfield than it was last year. I mean, we know how difficult it was. It was not easy for him to push the ball, and I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think he's going to be able to push it with ease because of these weapons. So I still have my concerns. I've talked about it. Those of you everydayers here know that I have my concerns. I'm not saying that this fully changes my concerns. They're definitely still there. But I do like I said, that quote from Coach Elko, I mean, he wasn't saying anything negative about Marcel Reed. He just didn't sound like he had a ton of confidence. And that was my concern. And this quote to me makes it sound like he has some genuine confidence in Marcel Reed. And that is the difference maker. If he has some genuine confidence in his quarterback, then I'm a believer. I'm buying in right now. And it sounds like that is the case. So I still have my concerns. I'm still not a believer that he's fully there as a passer. I don't believe from the spring game to today that he's taken this huge, massive leap from point A to point B to become this elite quarterback. I believe that maybe he's taken another step in the right direction. I am fully a believer in that. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with Marcel Reed, but we talked about it. If Texas A&M is going to overachieve, if they're going to have a good season, if they're going to win more football games than we're expecting, it is going to start with their quarterback, with Marcel Reed. The weapons are going to help. The offensive line, I believe, to be pretty darn good, which is going to help. There are going to be a lot of things in place to help this football team and this offense be better thanks to Marcel Reed, but he's still got some stuff to do himself. So I want to hear y'all's thoughts on this in the YouTube comments. What do y'all think? I mean, does Coach Elko's quote yesterday give you any more confidence in Marcel Reed? I feel like I have been more of a downer on Marcel Reed than anybody else. I think that everybody else is pretty confident in him. For me, I've had my fair share of concerns that I've discussed them, but I think that might just be me is kind of what I'm getting at here. So let me know y'all's thoughts. Does this quote make you feel better about him? How do we feel about the Aggies quarterback heading in, with the 2025 season kind of coming right around the corner? So let me know that in the YouTube comments. Got some more quotes from Coach Elko yesterday. He talked more about his team, about his offense, about his defense. We heard some different things about the Aggies, more positives heading into the season. I'll let you know what Coach Elko had to say coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to talk about our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, especially last night in that Pacers-Knicks game. Major momentum shifts and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot, a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I actually, right now, bet on the Aggies to take down Auburn in the SEC baseball tournament. As at the moment, at this second, the Aggies are ahead 3-1. Caden Kent hit a 3-run bomb, had to get on that back knee. So let's go Aggies. Got money on them today, baby. Come on. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet. If you win, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. So I've got some more quotes to run through here from Coach Elko. He talked about a lot of different things. This one is interesting to me. He says the summer is crucial. They report back on Sunday night, and then it'll be the start of summer training. That's lifting and conditioning 5 days a week. We'll do that stuff for a few weeks and then start implementing football specific stuff. This is huge, especially for some of those freshmen that we all anticipate having a role this year, whether it's Marco Jones or whether it is any of those. I mean, honestly, a lot of those freshmen are going to play a role in this. And, Jerome Miles is one of those guys. We'll get these guys on campus and get them in shape and ready for some football. And that is huge. These next 3 months for these freshmen to get right and hopefully get themselves ready for SEC football is very, very important. Also want to talk about this other quote here. Got lots of them. He goes on the defense. We all understand how we finished the year. We played 3 bad games of defense to finish the year. We are all aware of that. That's not how we play defense at Texas A&M. We have a better commitment for getting the job done at a higher level. I mean, to me, there are a lot of things to sit and look at the defense from last season. That collapse. It was frustrating. We saw a lot of good elite play from this Texas A&M defense last season, but down the stretch, it kind of hurt, and that was once again a big part of Texas A&M not being able to find a way to close out the season and make the playoffs. So, those are my thoughts on kind of the collapse of the defense last season. But without question, I do think it's going to be better this year. I do trust Coach Elko and what he has to say about the defense. He had this to say about the continuity of the team. When you bring back 16 starters, our conversations start at a much higher level in spring camp. We can hit the ground running at a much higher pace in year 2. I agree. Texas A&M, I mean, there's a reason this football team is returning a lot of elite production from last year's team that was once again was a late season collapse away from an SEC championship game and a college football playoff appearance. So there are a lot of players that are going to be back, which is going to play a key role for this. It's going to be important for this football team to find a way to use having this many players back to your advantage. I mean, it is a good thing to return a lot of players in college football. I mean, it just, once again, makes it easier, makes the verbiage, especially in a day and age where there's so many players coming in and out every single year on every single team from the portal. Obviously, Texas A&M brought in some players via the portal, but this team has a lot of reliable players from last year's team that should help them be successful in year 2 under Coach Elko. Another quote, the core of our roster has battled through a lot of adversity here. They're here because they believe in Texas A&M. They believe in what we're building here. I believe we have the kids who are truly committed to Texas A&M, and what it stands for. I like that. I mean, I think college football in today's day and age is beginning to lose some of the things that matter the most in college football, which to me are loving the school you go and play for. I mean, it's just we're losing that in college football. And to me, and I think to a lot of fans, that's one of the best parts about college football. I mean, when you're a fan of a team, you want the players playing for your team to care as much about that team as you do. You want them to move on to the NFL and get done and go, man, do you see my Aggies? They won yesterday. They took down Texas in the Lone Star Shot. You want to see that from your players. And I think we're losing that a bit in college football. So it's really good to hear that the coaching staff believes they have that type of roster, because I just think it makes college football so much better when you have a roster that cares about the university they play for. He says, Coach Elko goes on to say, we're excited to go out there and finish. We didn't finish the way we wanted to in November. That has been our mantra this offseason. I mean, it's true. I mean, I just got done talking about it. There were multiple points in the season where this Texas A&M team had opportunities to make a playoff and make an SEC championship game, and they just sort of fell off the map late in the season. It was frustrating. It was annoying. It stunk. I mean, everything about it was not fun for Texas A&M fans. But, I mean, the coaching staff knows we've got to be able to have a team that is going to be able to put together 12 games, a full body of work. And if you aren't able to do that, you're not going to make a playoff. This coaching staff knows that, and that is going to be a focus for the future for this staff and the Aggies. He goes on to say, when you look at the current roster, we're projected to have more NFL picks on this 25 roster than we've had in a long time. We're projected anywhere from 10 to 12 players to have their name called in the 2026 draft. And I mean, I think that means a lot. And the reason that means a lot is because when you are returning that many, when you are anticipating putting that many guys in the NFL, that means your roster is that good and your team's that good. And a team that has 10 to 12 guys planning to head off to the NFL draft is a good enough team to make college football playoff and to win some tough road games against teams like LSU and Texas and Notre Dame. You know, a lot of people are going to write off Texas A&M early, and I get it. It's kind of understandable. It does make a little bit of sense because, there's concerns, but you can't write off talent, and this team does have it, and they have it in bunches, to be honest with you. Coach Elko said, we bring back 8 starters on defense. It was well documented that we needed to finish seasons better. The group is hungry to go out there and play the level of defense Texas A&M fans deserve. I think this defense, we've talked a lot about the offense improving and having better receivers and better tight ends, and your offensive line and running backs are going to be great. Marcel Reed's going to take a step. We've discussed all that, but I think this defense is going to take a step itself. I think the defense is going to be incredibly underrated for the Aggies. And I mean, I think everyone anticipates it being good, but I think it's going to be better than we anticipate. I think it could be elite. I think there's a chance that does end up happening. I like this quote. This is what Coach Elko had to say. This was, of course, at the Brazos County coaching night. He said, it's been a long journey to get here to Texas A&M. A year ago, I stood on this podium for my first coach's night at Texas A&M. 1 year later, we've had tremendous progress into building the program you want to see. I think that was a cool quote. I liked hearing Coach Elko kind of, sit back and take his, sit back and take his own flowers, for how well he's done and how successful he's been and where he's come as a coach. I think it's cool to see. Every coach should be able to kind of do that, sit back and say, man, I've done a heck of a job in my career. But yeah, I'm a believer, ladies and gentlemen. I think this Texas A&M team is going to be very, very special. I think that it is going to be a season that we see lots of improvement. And I think that you're going to see Texas A&M find a way to be better this year, especially if their quarterback's good, like we can talk about in segment 1. I want to talk for a couple minutes about the baseball team and a couple minutes about the basketball team. We'll talk about those things coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. So you got a heck of a win yesterday from the baseball team over Mississippi State. We've talked about it. I mean, they're playing. That's why I bet on Texas A&M. They're playing for their lives right now. They got a heck of a win over the Mississippi State Bulldogs yesterday. Really was impressed with the hitting. We all know the weekend that Jace had against Georgia. It was great to see him get that big homer. So effortless. And that's why I think he's gonna be such a good pro. That swing was effortless. He just drove that ball with no effort. It's just all in the swing. It's just a beautiful thing he's got going on there. Solid outing from Prager. Was happy to see he was able to get that quick turnaround, get on the bump. I know his arm wasn't feeling 100%, but he didn't make it look like that. And right now, Lampkin's out there battling against Auburn. He just got yanked. We're up 3-1 right now, heading into the final 3 frames. If this team can hold on, it just gets a little bit more interesting. Give yourself a chance here, and the Aggies got to find a way to do it. So keep winning. Win the whole thing. I believe in this team. We know that they're motivated. We know that they're playing for their lives right now, and hopefully that will pay off. So I don't want to say that. But basketball, I have a couple concerns. The first is Mackenzie Mbako. He has been performing really well in the NBA draft combine. And I'm kind of sitting here and wondering to myself, is there a world where he stays in the draft? I saw him. There was a mock draft that came out yesterday that had him going with the last 2 or 3 picks. I don't know. That's something to monitor because, I talked about my excitement for the basketball team and the heck of a job Coach Bucky McMillan has done. But I'm just telling y'all, if you lose Mbako, it's going to hurt this team really quickly. And y'all know I really like Rylan Griffin, and I really like Jakari Lane, and I like some of these guys. But if you lose Mbako, it's going to severely affect a basketball team that I was hoping was going to overperform expectations. So we're going to kind of see what happens there. It's kind of quieted down. Our last commit was Rylan Griffin, which was what, last week, or was that 2 weeks? We're waiting on some more commits, and we still got a team to field here. So, basketball transfer portal stuff is kind of dying down, and we're still waiting on some more players. So we'll see what happens there. I still like our starting 5, especially if Mackenzie Mbako is on this team. But we're going to need more depth pieces, and the coaching staff needs to go and figure out some more stuff, and we'll see what happens. But, this roster's not complete yet. But it's just, I was sitting and kind of thinking about this today. It's something to monitor over the next few weeks. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. Hey, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button on YouTube, helps the show out a ton. If you're listening on a podcast platform, leave a 5-star review. Helps me out, helps the show out a ton. Hope everyone has an outstanding rest of their Thursday. Hopefully the Aggies are able to hold on to this baseball game. Like I said, it's 3-1. Aggies are at the plate right now when I'm watching, heading to the top of the 7th inning. Hopefully they hold on and move on. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow on Friday right here on the Locked On Aggies podcast.